When it comes to mid-range devices, few seem to take more pride in build quality and design than HTC. In fact, several of HTC's mid-range devices feel more like flagship products, even if the specs generally aren't anywhere near that level. In our latest review, we are going to be taking a look at HTC Desire 820, the newest mid-ranger in HTC's stable. Does it live up to the build design reputation of HTC's other mid-range offerings? What are the specs? Join us as we take a look. The HTC Desire 820 is a typical member of manufacturer's mid-range lineup. It bears all of the characteristic design features for the family: a two-tone unibody plastic shell, complete with particular color accents and an oversized camera lens on the back. The handset is surprisingly thin and also pretty light for its size at just 155 grams. It's seriously one of the better looking plastic phones on the market. Historically speaking, HTC is known for meticulous design for its devices, and the Desire 820 surely follows in that rich tradition. For a glossy plastic bodied thing, it's surprisingly attractive, slim for its massive size, lightweight and solidly constructed to give it some substance. The Desire 820 also have the good old HTC's Boom Sound stereo speakers on the front top and the bottom, which produces high quality sound when listening to music with high volume output. The sound produced is very clear, and as well as the output through headphone jack on the top is also very high. So it's perfect phone for the audiophiles out there. The Desire 820 packs a 5.5-inch display with a resolution of 720p HD. Due to the size of the screen, the display isn't exactly the sharpest, but the panel still looks fairly decent with a nice amount of brightness, natural and accurate colors. The viewing angles are also good, as is outdoor visibility. Sure, the panel isn't going to impress anyone, but unless you're an HD buff, that is the best possible experience considering this is a mid-range device. The HTC Desire 820 might be a mid-range handset, but its SoC still manages to stand out for one big reason. The Desire 820 is one of the few Android devices currently on the market that offers up a 64-bit processor. The 64-bit capable Snapdragon 615 is an octa-core processor that packs a pretty solid punch, accompanied by a 2GB RAM and Adreno 405 GPU. Unfortunately, Android itself doesn't truly support 64-bit just yet, not until Lollipop rolls on out, but at least that means the Desire 820 is a bit future-proof in that regard. Performance right now, however, is what matters most to those thinking about picking up the handset sooner rather than later. Thankfully, the Desire 820 is actually very snappy and responsive. Even though this is technically a mid-range phone, the experience feels very high-end. Whether it's doing something basic like opening up apps to more demanding things like web browsing, multitasking, and playing high-end games, the Desire 820 handles everything with relative ease. Ironically, the Desire 820 actually has a higher megapixel count than the flagship HTC One M8. That said, there's more to good camera experience than the megapixel count. So how well does the 13 megapixel with LED flash handle? It depends. You can take some pretty high-end res photos here with a good amount of color, at least if lighting conditions are right. Though more often than not, exposure and white balance are way off, causing a lot of details to be lost. Photos are either completely overexposed or underexposed, causing lights to be way too bright and darks to be way too dark. HDR does help alleviate the issue some by creating a much more balanced shot and bringing out more detail. It doesn't get much better in low light, resulting in a lot of noise, making it virtually impossible to take a usable photo in dim lighting conditions. As for the front-facing camera, HTC pushes the selfie angle by giving the handset an 8 megapixel camera. The end result is a pretty solid experience for a front-facing camera. When it comes to the camera software, the interface hasn't changed much from previous devices. giving us a clean interface that is easy to use, though there are some manual controls for ISO, white balance, exposure, and all the usual stuff you would expect. There are a few changes introduced with the Desire 820 though, like a couple new shooting modes such as split capture, which lets you take a photo with the rear camera and the front camera and stitches them together. There's also photo booth, and it's exactly what you might think it is. This new mode takes several photos in succession and stitches them together just like you would get from a photo booth. Zoe is also still available, but if you want to compile them, you'll have to do it through HTC's own Zoe application. The Desire 820 offers a 2600 mAh battery that isn't horrible but not exactly great either. During my testing, I found out it would get anywhere between 13 to 16 hours with the 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time. In other words, the Desire 820 can make it through a full day, but that's about it. The Desire 820 runs on an Android 4.4 KitKat with Sense 6 like all other modern HTC devices. Basically, if you are familiar with HTC devices like the One M8, you'll feel at home here as well. Sense is a fan favorite when it comes to custom skins, simply because its features aren't overbearing and the experience is actually very speedy. Some of the biggest features here include Blink Feed, a social and news aggregator that is somewhat akin to Flipboard. You can connect to Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, and several other news sources. Another favorite is Zoe, as already mentioned briefly in the camera section above. If you are a fan of HTC products but don't want to spend top dollar on a flagship product, the HTC Desire 820 is certainly worthy of your consideration. Aside from the display, the experience here is more than above average and nearly at flagship level. The bottom line is the HTC Desire 820 has a solid build quality with front-facing speakers, vivid display, and the 64-bit octa-core processor, but also lacks in camera quality, fairly low resolution for its size, and a bit slippery design. If you could live with those shortcomings, it's an amazing device. I would give this phone a rating of 8.5, as HTC again delivers by bringing us a high-end experience without the high-end price tag. So if you enjoyed this video guys, give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel down below. If you haven't watched my unboxing video of HTC Desire 820, click right here to watch it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.